Hey guys, Jon, Matt here, and yeah, we're in Victory Lane. I mean, what a day it's been, what a weekend it's been, and this is kind of the conclusion of it for the Las Vegas Aces. That'll continue, but this is the last race here in 2019. So Matt and I were just interviewing Martin Truex Jr. We'll start with the race here, and he's just departing the area. Behind us, you can see the South Point 400 trophy. So Truex, or well, Logano, amazing start, fast start, led about 100 laps, and then it was at the end of that second stage where Truex kind of comes out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, but he basically accelerates to the front, takes the lead to win the second stage, and then was able to really essentially hold on. There was a few lead changes there, but what did Martin tell you about just how he was able to propel himself up front?
I said it was a rough start. He started all the way back in 24th today, and took the lead at the end of that second stage, started the third stage in front, and then kind of, bounced back a little and then came back to the front and had to make a few adjustments. I think as this track cooled a little bit, as soon as the sun went down, the air temperature here was 15 degrees less than it was earlier in the day, so that track temperature definitely going to cool, and they had to adjust a little bit, but they were able to find the car and get out in front and just kind of drive away from guys. Kevin Harvick tried to make it a little interesting towards the end, but he mentioned over there early on after the race that he just couldn't find enough grip. He needed a clean track, needed a caution and a restart to be able to get a clean run, and never got it, and Truex was able to get the win.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I counted it, 13 straight NASCAR races I've been here in Las Vegas to cover, which is crazy. I'm not that old, but this is the first race gone from sunshine and a lot of heat to a cool track, and I mean, it's pretty tolerable right now, and that makes the car slippery. That's what Kyle Larson said. That's what Brad Keselowski said. They all told us the same thing. They all had to deal with it, and you saw it in the qualifying times, Matt, which took me aback. Took a step back for me, because the fastest cars that are normally here, like Logano and like Keselowski and even like Truex, these guys did not qualify in the top 10. It was Clint Boyer that won the pole. He was really pissed coming off the track. Kyle Busch was pissed coming off the track today. And it's the playoffs, so things are a little bit different. It's a little bit different vibe than what you get here in the spring race out here, but I really enjoyed it.
I actually asked Martin about that, and he said, yeah, the last race he won, first race he won this season was 4 months ago, and once you win that race, you're into the playoff, you're into the chase, you're good to go. And now, you had a bad race, you have a bad month, whatever, it's okay, you'll get there. Now you have to win. Now you have to run well. If you have a bad day, it's kind of disastrous as far as your chances at winning the overall Cup. So, the intensity ramps up. You can feel it out there on the track. The drivers know that it's just a different atmosphere now, and he was able to pull out the win.
Yeah, and I don't know, who watched the race or didn't, but Kurt Busch got hosed. I didn't see what happened in his accident. It was towards the end of the race there that he got clipped and hit the wall, and he's in the chase, and that certainly is a horrible start for the Las Vegas. And again, Kyle Busch, not a happy camper. Don't recall where he finished. We can't see the tote board from where we're at, but he didn't have clearly a strong enough finish here in the first chase race. So NASCAR not returning here until March. I don't know if they announced the specific date yet, but we won't see them again until next year. The weather will be hopefully a little bit cooler, although that March race can get a little toasty.
Never know, yeah.
But it's just fun being out here. So I was out here yesterday for the Xfinity Series race. I talked to a couple local drivers, Riley Herbst of Terrible's fame, and the other kid, I can't remember, Noah Gragson. And it's just fun to see these young kids. And with the two races out here now, you're just seeing more opportunity, and NASCAR is looking at these young drivers from Las Vegas to maybe be a rising star. So Riley Herbst, great interview, smiling. I think he's 19 or 20. I mean, it's just these kids are coming up here. But it's always a great weekend when we can come out here and enjoy the track.
No, it was. And such a different feel between race one, or the first race in March, which is only, the third race of the season every year. Yeah. And then you get into the September race, which is the first race of the playoff. And it's just, you can feel it from everybody. Like I said, and Truex talked about it. It's a different vibe. This is playoffs. I mean, you see it in any other sport. It's a little different when you get into racing, and it's still kind of new. It's only been around for a handful of years, but it's a different feel, and it's fun to have this race out here. I love that it went to the night race. We talked about this a few years ago when they first started toying with the idea of bringing another race out, about going to a nighttime race. I think they could even push it back a little later, maybe start it at 5 o'clock. I know that's it's 8 o'clock.
Yes,
absolutely. 8 o'clock East Coast start, but whatever. West Coast runs the sports schedule, so I don't really care about that. But I think it'd be great to have this race start at 5 o'clock, and then the setting, with the lights started taking effect, and you had the awesome sunset. Everybody out there knows how great our sunsets are out here. Just a really cool visual to be able to see that out here. And night race, I mean, in Vegas, temperature is going to be 20 degrees cooler. You don't have the sun beating on you. Hard to beat it.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst out here, but I agree with Maddie. Let's make it a little bit later. All right, so let's get away from the Speedway, and let's go to T-Mobile Arena. Well, Matt was at the fight last night. Big cut, Tyson Fury ended up winning the fight. I don't even know if we want to recap that because so much happened today. But Vegas Golden Knights opening up. Preseason hockey. Hockey is back. And, Matt, the big takeaway for me is, well, kind of the early midseason form. And I know that's maybe a bit of a cliche to use, but the Knights look great. The veterans look great. And then the crowd was absolutely insane. And it's year 3 for the Golden Knights. And just the vibe at T-Mobile Arena, sellout, at least announced sellout crowd. People are screaming and yelling for a preseason hockey game, and the players notice that.
Yeah, midseason form for the players, midseason form for the fans. Pretty amazing atmosphere out there. They announced 17,700. I would say about 15,000 fans were there.
15,500. I'll say 5.
In the 15,000
maybe 16.
For actual warm bodies that were at T-Mobile today, at least 15,000, which is still incredible. You're talking about a preseason game, man. This doesn't count for anything. Who do we have out there today? Pacioretty, who scored the hat trick, was great today. He was on the top line with Cody Glass centering and Riley Smith on the other side. Marchessault and Eakin were out there. Braden McNabb. So you had a handful of regulars. Subban was in net. So there were some guys that are obviously going to be on the team and have already been on the team that were playing out there tonight. It was good to see them. And then you saw some of the younger kids out there. Zach Whitecloud was out there paired with Jimmy Schultz. That was a defensive pairing today, which was good to see. Schultz with a couple really good plays in the second period, which was nice. So, it's early, but I think you're already starting to see who's going to make this team. Who the guys are going to be. Cody Glass, I think, is one of the big X factors. Is he going to be there? I mean, and if he is, where's he centering? Eakin's probably going to be centering that third line. No more Belmar, so you need a center for that fourth line. Is Cody Glass the guy?
Well, and maybe you just turn that fourth line. I mean, traditionally in hockey, right, the fourth line is always the big boys, and they're the grinders, and maybe they slow the tempo down. But what did the Vegas Golden Knights do in year 1? They played a newer style of hockey. Nobody could stop their speed. Yeah. So do you bring even more speed into that fourth line and maybe even do a Cody Glass, Brandon Peary line, something where it's just instead of extreme size, you have extreme speed, and maybe put Reeves. Maybe you put Reeves as the. I don't know how that works at all, but maybe you have Glass, Peary, and Reeves. Just a really interesting dynamic. I don't know enough about hockey to say whether that's good or not.
A lot to be determined here. I mean, it's preseason
game
number 1. We're only 3 days into camp. There's still a long way to go. October 2nd is still a mile away.
Well, so a couple takeaways, and I put it in our earlier video. Right, Gerard Gallant. He's just more worried about the workflow, for lack of a better way to put it. He said he was worried about calling line changes in the first preseason game. He said the intensity was really hot in that first period. The Keegan Kolesar hit where he got the major penalty, which was reviewed. Oh, shocker, now they're reviewing major penalties. Could have used that last year. That didn't happen. And the Knights killed that major penalty, so that was nice to see, but it doesn't ease any pain that anybody had. So that's one takeaway. Intense to start, and then Gallant said it leveled out throughout, but something Max Pacioretty said is that intensity in the first period was brought on purpose. He wants those young players to play as fast as they can possibly play because he needs them to know how they need to play to make this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right away, you could see the talent disparity out there when you had that top line. Even though Cody Glass hasn't played on the big club yet, with Riley Smith and Max Pacioretty on the wings, you could see how much better those guys are than everybody else on the ice. And, that's their job. They want to get these kids ready for the NHL. They've already made it. They're there. They're established pros. They need to let these kids know what it takes to be on that level. And if they can bring some of these kids along and get them ready for the NHL season, I think that's huge.
Were you there when the hat trick happened, or were you gone?
No, I was
you were in the arena. So
I didn't leave till after the second period. I had to catch the rest of the Raiders game.
The debacle, but the crowd was nuts, and I mentioned it at the top of this segment, but asked Max Pacioretty and a few guys about that, and he said the kicker was they're up 5-2. Braden McNabb just flips a puck. It goes in. It's 6-2, empty net goal. And Pacioretty said the whole team was paying attention to the Jumbotron, the Nitron, and saw people just dancing and jumping and screaming. And he got a kick out of it. And the whole team got a kick out of it. And it's like Gallant said, hey, I was expecting, a great crowd, but it was actually exceeding his expectations. It's just, it's not going to work here. Hockey in Vegas. Who cares, right?
Has not worn off. I mean, let's be honest. That's what happens when your first-year team goes to the Stanley Cup final and your second-year team loses in the ridiculous dramatic fashion in which they lost last year. Everybody is still so hungry, so close to the Cup, so close to Game 7 win on the road against San Jose. They've been waiting all summer for this, and it's just feed me more, man. That's where they're at right now, and it looks like the Knights are ready to go.
Shameless plug for our sponsors, the Pint and the Michael Westra Allstate Agency. Let's talk Las Vegas Aces. Thomas and Mack Center. They take the game there, and De'Erica Hamby, just basically saves it. Now, I know the Aces trailed for, I'd say, I guess, the better part of the first half or most of the game.
17 lead changes in this game.
Well, I know they had to go on some sort of like a 24/7 run to just bring themselves back into the game. So a bunch of lead changes at the end. About 10 seconds to go, De'Erica Hamby steals. I don't know if it was an inbounds pass or was a secondary pass out of the backcourt into the front court.
No, we'll set you up with about 14 seconds to go. A'ja Wilson, ball gets kind of knocked out of her hand, dribbles it off her knee, goes out of bounds. So Chicago's going to inbound the ball, up by 2, only 14 seconds left. Obviously, you have to foul and get them to the free throw line. Aces had a foul to give. They foul right away, so they have to inbound the ball again. Chicago does. Inbound the ball. Chicago tries to dribble into the backcourt and just kill the clock, basically, while Kelsey Plum's chasing her around, trying to get the foul. Kind of gets trapped up against the sideline, tries to throw it out to midcourt. De'Erica Hamby reads it, steps in front of it, has no idea how much time is left on the clock, takes about 2 steps over the midcourt line and chucks a three-pointer that goes.
5 seconds left still on the clock.
That goes. I mean, if you watch the reaction of those girls on the court, Kayla McBride, A'ja Wilson, just absolute disbelief on their faces as that ball went with 5 seconds to go. And then Chicago got a good look at a 3 at the buzzer, but it fell short, and the Aces move on. Now have to head over to Washington for a 5-game series.
So it is Washington, a team that they've struggled mightily against this season, but it is a 5-game series, so hopefully the Aces, who didn't really play that well entering kind of the final stretch here, and especially entering the playoff game against Chicago, so we'll see if they can't maybe use this to right the ship and give Washington a run here, but certainly they're going to be big underdogs, and I'd say pretty big underdogs in this series against Washington.
What's the goal? You're going on the road for games 1 and 2 of a playoff series, best of 5, steal one on the road, come home next Sunday. You've got game 3 back at Mandalay Bay, their home arena. You got to steal one on the road and hope to come home with an even 1-1 series, and then hold home court. If you can hold serve at home and get games 3 and 4, you move on. You advance to the final. So at the very least, steal one at home or steal one on the road and try to win at home.
Matt Gutierrez, John Castanino here, just to our right, your left, Dale Jarrett, and Kyle Petty? Yeah, Kyle Petty here. We're live in Victory Lane. Martin Truex Jr. winning the South Point 400. He's won in Las Vegas before. This is his 5th win of the season, and it's the first playoff race of the chase for the Monster Energy Cup. The local boys did not fare so well, Kurt and Kyle Busch, but this weekend, much more than just the Aces and much more than just what's happened at the Speedway and the Golden Knights. Fight yesterday, Tyson Fury, massive cut on his face.
2 of them.
2 of them.
He had 2. He had one up on the brow, it was opened up by a punch. So a lot of blood,
But this was a gory fight. Gory.
Yeah, well, I mean, when a cut is
like
opened
a
up.
UFC fight.
Yeah, exactly. No. When a cut is opened up by a punch, there's always the worry that if it gets stopped, that's a TKO. Right. You don't go to the cards. There's no decision. It was opened by a legit cut, fair punch. If it gets stopped, that's a TKO, and Fury loses his belt. Able to kind of keep that blood at bay, I guess you could say. Cutman did a great job. It still opened up every round, but he was able to sustain. He said he had trouble seeing right off the get-go, and then got another cut right on his eyelid as well. So, I mean, just
Just pouring blood. That's all I saw.
The whole fight. Trunks went from white to red. Tony Weeks was wearing blood all over his shirt. Blood dripping down the back of Wallen. It was a mess. But, I mean, overall, dominant performance by Tyson Fury. He won the fight convincingly. I had it 116, 112 on my card. The final scores were 116, 112, 117, 111, I think 118, 110. So unanimous decision for Fury.
And tell us about the vibe at T-Mobile Arena. It's 8,500 announced, but you said that they reconfigured the seating a little bit, made it perfect.
They pushed the seats back on the, call it the castle side of T-Mobile, those of you that are familiar with the night setup. Pushed the seats back there on that lower bowl. So it was kind of a horseshoe. The upper deck was tarped off, but the seats that were available were full. The crowd was loud. Fury brought a lot of fans from England. They were chanting. They were having a good time. The national anthems were awesome. The undercard, you had a championship fight. We had the Philippine national anthem. We had the Mexican national anthem. Then we had, for the main event, the Swedish national anthem, Great Britain, and then the American national anthem. Here's
like
the funny
20 minutes.
thing. I watched 4 fights last night and not one American fighter, but we still got our national anthem sang before the main event. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great atmosphere. When you get these international fights, it's always a good time. You always get a great fight crowd out there, and the atmosphere is fantastic.
All right, let's back up. Well, I don't know I know you probably don't want to talk about either, but let's back up to yesterday, UNLV football. I didn't see the whole game, but great start against Northwestern. They play a great first half. I believe they're down 14-13 at the half, or I'm sorry, it was 16-13 or 16-14. I don't know. I know the Rebels trailed by 2 at the half. We've got a comment here, but it's too far away from me, so I can't read it. That's okay. But they don't score a point. It was 16-14 at the half. They don't score a point in the second half. They lose 30-14. Great opportunity for UNLV. Northwestern on their backup quarterback. Their main starter was injured, so the backup comes in, has to, I believe, start for the rest of the year. Charles Williams looked fantastic. Again, the running game is amazing. If you could just find a stinking passing game, which Armani Rogers, again, I think passed for under 100 yards and had an interception, couldn't get it done.
Is he ever going to get it done? I mean, we've been watching this now for 2+ seasons. He's not the guy. I don't know how long you can stay with a guy that just can't make the easy throws. I mean, we've talked about this kid's athletic ability up and down, but he's not a good quarterback. He's not an accurate quarterback. He doesn't make the best decisions. He turns the ball over too often, and this team is not able to sustain drives because of it. The running game is fantastic, but that only gets you so far when you can't throw the ball. Defense looked good early, but again, you know, when you're put in short field situations that often throughout a game, because your offense can't move the ball, there's only so much you can do, and eventually you're going to crack, and you know they did, and that's the story of this UNLV football team. I don't know, as long as Armani Rogers is a quarterback, if they're ever going to get over that hump, and it's probably, if it continues this way, going to cost Tony Sanchez his job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point that Matt makes, and I know a lot of people are already talking about that. Already lose, again, a game last week to Arkansas State that was just a stinker. They play a much better first half here, but it's, you know, you've got to put together 60 minutes, right? Yeah, 4 15-minute quarters. And Rebels just can't seem to do it. They can play a good half here and there, but that's not going to win you a football game. And I know Tony Sanchez said yesterday that 100% accurate, they let one get away. It's a game that they could have certainly won if you can be a little bit more consistent offensively and with the defense, short fields too. But again, you got to get a little bit of help. You got to get some points in the second half, give them a little bit of a breather, and they just didn't get it. So Rebels now 1-2. They, I believe, go into a bye week, and then they're coming back to play Boise State the following week. Then they go back on the road, or it might be Wyoming. Shoot, I'm all over the place here.
Either way, yeah. I mean, this team's not going to win 6 games.
I think it's Wyoming next. I think it's Wyoming next, and then Boise State at home, and then they've got 2 more on the road: Fresno State and Vanderbilt. I believe that's how it shapes out. But it's 3 out of the next 4 that are on the road. But you're right. They needed that. They needed that Arkansas State game to really give them a chance to be bowl eligible. Now they're going to have to beat like 3 teams that on paper they probably shouldn't beat for them to qualify.
They may not be favored in another game this year. Maybe one if they're lucky. I mean, that's where this team is at this point. And I'm saying make the switch. Make the switch at quarterback. Let's see what Oblad can do for an entire game. Honestly, what do you have to lose at this point? You already know what you have in Armani Rogers. There are no more secrets here. He's not going to suddenly develop and become this great passing threat. That's not what he is. You know what he is. make the switch and see what you can get out of Oblad. If it doesn't work out, you're in the exact same position anyways.
And I don't know what the argument against the two-headed monster is, especially even switching them out during series. And you can put a wrinkle in your offense where, again, maybe in obvious passing downs you have Oblad come in. And I think it's an opportunity to maybe pull some trickery. I don't know. I think they need to do something different.
Get creative.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
creative.
Exactly. All right, so speaking of get creative, well, I don't think they were creative at all after the first quarter. We'll end on the Raiders. 10-0 lead. They look really great against Kansas City. You're thinking, hey, the Raiders are in this. But, Matt, you said a lot of missed opportunities as far as fourth downs, and you're playing Kansas City. You got to put some points on the board, and John Gruden was not nearly as aggressive as he was in the preseason going forward on fourth downs.
No, it's early in the game. You've got a 4th and 1, and you're going to give up points to Kansas City. I was talking to Tyler Bischoff just a couple of days ago at night's practice, and he said that, gave me a stat. In 19 games that Mahomes has started, the Chiefs have only scored under 30 points 4 times, and they were 3-1 in those games. Their one loss, a 29-28 loss to the Chargers last season. You know that they're going to score points. It's 4th and short. You've got a great running back there. You've got weapons. You've got Carr who can move. You've got to go for it early. You turn around, and it's 10-7. You've got the ball. And instead of, again, going for it on 4th and short, you punt the ball, and before you know it, you're down 14-10, and that was all she wrote. It was 28-10 by halftime, and that was the ball game. You have to be more aggressive against a team like Kansas City because they're going to get their points. Nobody in this league has been able to stop this team in 2 seasons now from scoring. You have to go out and be aggressive, and they just weren't aggressive enough. And then defensively, 3rd and 20 and you give up a 44-yard touchdown. 2nd and 17 and you give up 20 yards. 3rd and 12, you give up 13 yards. Couldn't get off the field. 95-yard drive I think really just encapsulated what this entire game was.
And I hate to draw this comparison, but I feel like there's a lot to now. Raiders trending upwards. I feel like they're on an upward swing here. UNLV football either trending down or just level. But you're seeing the parallels here between the two teams where it's just that they can play well for a quarter or a half and just can't sustain it, whether it's bad play calling or not being aggressive or the offense letting the defense down, whatever it is.
Well, I don't want to make it sound like everything positive the Raiders did last week we're just going to disregard and now they're garbage again. They played a great Kansas City team. I in no way, shape, or form thought they were going to win this game. I thought it would be closer because I really did think that their offense would look better than it did. They lost Jacobs for a little while during the game. He was able to come back. Williams went out for a little while. He was able to come back. So they were banged up a bit. Trent Brown left the game. I don't know what his status is yet. But they battled some injuries throughout the game, but you still have to play better. And I thought they were going to be able to keep it a little closer than that because offensively I thought they could do more. I thought they got a little too one-dimensional when Jacobs went out and a little too many empty sets and shotgun formations and maybe tried to keep up with Kansas City's style of play instead of doing what they do best. In any case, it's still a more talented team than what we've seen over the last couple of years, and it's not all gloom or doom. The Raiders are going to win some games this year, and they're going to be competitive this year. Kansas City is 1A to New England this year, I think, in the AFC. Those are the 2 best teams right now through the first 2 weeks of the season. I think New England won 43-0 today against the minor league club.
Antonio
Miami,
Brown, what a player. What a player.
Oh, yeah, I know. Unbelievable. But, Antonio Brown's not playing defense. They got to go out and find a safety, and Mika Fitzpatrick is available for trade. You gotta at least kick the tires there and see what's available and see if you can get him.
Am I missing anything else that happened this weekend?
God, could there be anything else? I don't think we have time for anything else, man. This is it's been a pretty amazing weekend. Welcome to the new Las Vegas sports scene. This is what it is now. It's nonstop. I'm leaving T-Mobile for the second time in less than 24 hours for a second sporting event as I'm watching the Raiders game, driving by Thomas and Mack where the Aces are hitting a game-winning shot to head out here to the Speedway. It's been crazy, and it's not slowing down anytime soon.
UNLV hockey, I did miss that. I think their opener was it Saturday or was it? It was Friday. And sellout crowd at City National, they win their opener as well. So I think, touch on everything. Maybe there's some Little League baseball or something that I missed out on.
Man,
all right, so to recap, Martin Truex Jr. wins here at the track. Knights win. Aces win. Raiders lose. Rebels lose. See, it's just football. Can we turn around football?
Yeah.
That's it. Again, for our sponsors, The Pint and the Michael Wester Allstate Agency. That's Matt. I'm John. This is Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas. And, boy, we had an amazing weekend here in Vegas. And I'm sure we're going to have one of these again soon enough. We'll see you guys next time.